Hello, everybody. Welcome to our post show following WWE's midday afternoon of champions. I am John Pollock, along with the man whose voice, I think when I exhale my final breath, I think the last thing that will go through my mind is 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. I think that's going to be the last thing I think before I sign off.
Yeah. Well, as long as we continue using StreamYard, where audio balancing is always going to be an issue, yeah, you will continue hearing that before the start of these broadcasts from me.
How are you, Way?
I'm doing good. Yeah, not bad. Fit the show in during the afternoon, and we get to record it at 9 o'clock Eastern time, which is kind of nice, you know?
Yep, this is show number 1 of 4 this weekend.
Yeah. We're doing 2 podcasts. We're not covering all 4 shows, but
No, we
Yeah.
are not. There's Slammiversary tomorrow afternoon. There's a barbecue that is going to be followed by a wrestling show at the Performance Center. And then we have Forbidden Door as well on Sunday. So we will be back very late on Sunday night. Post midnight is going to be my my easy prediction. Post midnight.
Yeah. And let's not forget Collision Course. That's taking place pretty much in about an hour's time. So we're going head to head with Collision itself. But hopefully we'll get you out of here in time for Kate. And I believe it's Jay Lacey joining her for Collision Course at 10:15 Eastern time in the Post Wrestling Cafe.
Yes. The knock before the Forbidden Door show tomorrow.
The doormat. Forbidden doormat.
Okay. That's what this very probably exhausted Rio Rancho, New Mexico crowd is going to be feeling after sitting through Dynamite and then 2 more hours after it. But they're getting JD Drake against Chris Jericho.
Well, I'm sure there's plenty, worthwhile.
Yes. All right. Well, we're going to get into the show that took place earlier today from Riyadh. Wait, how do you feel about these shows? I'm only asking because it has been something I've thought of coming out of that recent chat I did with like George Barrios. And it's one that like I've tried to wrap myself around like this idea. Like they maintain this relationship at like the darkest period when they face the most amount of backlash. Today, there is zero backlash. And if anything, it's the opposite. It's you have TKO now that I think if you're going to be talking about a lot of this subject matter, it's going to be reserved for the UFC that is much more closely embedded with the US government at this point. That's going to, I think, take up a lot of that sort of oxygen. And it's just Saudi Arabia is just it's on the calendar. It's completely normal. I don't think it's ever been more normal than present day as we're speaking now.
Yeah, and it's not really just pro wrestling. It's I feel like across all entertainment forms where it's just sort of another destination, and the sort of political ramifications of it aren't really being discussed anywhere.
The comedians got a lot of backlash when they went last year, but for sports and combat sports, pro wrestling, they all fall into that bucket. Zero, I would say. Not quite zero, but the next thing closest to it. But we did see like last year with the Riyadh Comedy Festival, and maybe because part of that was the discussion about like there would be some topics that there would be limitations on. WWE is not going over. We're not seeing examples like we had on that first show where you had the Davari brothers coming out to represent Iran against the Saudi Arabian babyfaces. For instance, you're not getting the overt political messaging on these shows, so it is easier for your fan to disassociate that aspect of this deal with it's just a wrestling show.
The comedy world isn't. They're also not faced with this 2 times a year for 8 years, however long that this relationship that wrestling audiences have had to. And so, I feel like we certainly tried to bring, certain political discussions up attached to the show as often as we can. And even I get the sense our audience is like, fully aware and maybe even tired of at least like the same talking points. So, and I would imagine the comedy world would probably experience similar if like it was such a frequency of, appearances too. So the way I view these shows is I tried not to lose sight of the idea of why they're there. They're there because they're being paid a great deal of money by a government that wants to wash its image of other human rights abuses. So I try not to lose sight of that. I also completely understand like this company's very financially driven motivations for being there, and that's just kind of it.
We'll get to the show in a minute. My last one I'll ask you, because I asked Brandon this on Thursday, is when the expiration of this deal occurs, and they'll have a WrestleMania under this deal that happens next year. Like, what are you thinking if you are the government of Saudi Arabia when it comes to this 10-year investment, and what have you gotten what you wanted out of this? Is this a beneficial deal to continue at, say, $100 million a year for 2 shows? Are they going to look at, hey, WrestleMania represented this big uptick, we want the big show of the year, we don't want these other 2 shows for $100 million? Or maybe they just look at, is like, we got what we wanted out of this transaction. Is this worth that level of investment for another 10-year deal, for instance?
I guess so much of it depends on what their ambitions are beyond Vision 2030. Like, what, is it just a budget that's allotted for this particular campaign that they will choose to stop beyond 2030? Or is it something they want to continue? Is there a Vision 2040, 2050, etc.? But of all,
ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Vision 2030 with Braun Breaker.
Very good. Yeah. But something tells me that like they must enjoy something about this, because their relationship has only seemed to deepen over the years, right? WWE has given more. WWE and TKO
they stuck with them when, like, there is certain, like, that was, that has come out in this whole shareholder lawsuit, was the fact that when Turki Al-Sheikh would refer to Vince McMahon as father, like, this term of endearment, it came out of that 2018 period when the world was turning away from Saudi Arabia and WWE leaned in. So I think there's definitely a loyalty factor. There's also the much deeper relationship with TKO that goes much deeper than, say, Liv Golf had an association that between the arrangement for boxing. We're seeing UFC going over there anymore. I could certainly see this extending beyond the scope of this deal. I guess a lot of eyes are going to...
Of course, you could see TKO doing everything they can to want to
for
make it
TKO, I
attractive.
mean, this is...
They're
like,
reliant on it.
It is imperative. Like, you would have to make up that revenue somewhere else. And it's not like Saudi Arabia was a template for all these other Gulf states or other governments that have spent all this money. Like, the UFC is seeing some of that, not to the extent of this, but it's not like WWE has been able to replicate this elsewhere. This would be it's not a killer for them, but it's a windfall if they were to lose out on this, because there is not a sign that there are other nations that are looking for this kind of investment to bring WWE. This sort of represents the high watermark of what you can seek out from the ultimate FIP.
Yeah, it really is. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's get to the show. That was from the Kingdom Arena in Riyadh. We did not have WrestleTix able to tabulate what the tickets were, but multiple times it was referred to on screen as a sellout of over 18,000 people by Michael Cole. I mean, we got a general sense of the... I couldn't give you like a good estimate visually. 18,000 sounds like a lot. It's feasible, but that's not a verified number. That's a Michael Cole verified number.
Yes, it's a WWE number. Yeah.
Oba Femi and Jey Uso is starting things off on the first hour, which was airing on ESPN in the US, and it is a total babyface reaction for Jey Uso, complete with yeeting, high-fiving Michael Cole and Corey Graves as he arrives. Like, this was the most babyface Jey Uso of this run. As he makes his way into the ring, runs it back again, and then Oba's music begins after this long pause to build up the Oba chants, and he comes out, and we have, as Michael Cole identifies him, referee Daryl Sharma. This is the most interesting referee because On the main roster, he is usually referred to as Daryl Sharma. In NXT, Adrian Butler. So maybe this is a Dave Earl Hebner situation that we don't realize there are actually two Sharmas that are in WWE. Or maybe one Sharma, one Butler, and they're two different people, and Michael Cole's the only one that pays attention to that.
Very possible. Or maybe the commentators on the main roster just simply don't know his wrestler name.
I mean, to the average fan, I believe they saw this guy on SmackDown Friday night in London. It was like, it has to be two different people, right?
Must be, yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay. That's my referee analysis of this match. So we begin. Not a very long match that this was. Oba attacked him with a shoulder breaker and goes for a choke slam, which Jey avoids. And his offense consisted of super kicks and then more super kicks. He lands the Uso splash. Oba kicks out at the count of 1, grabbing him by the throat. And this time hits the choke slam, but Oba runs the ropes into 3 consecutive super kicks. But then he fires back after he ends up taking the Uso splash again. But Jey is hurt, cannot go for the cover. He eventually hits another Uso splash. Oba kicks out, and Jey applies the rear naked choke. And as Oba is going to fight his way to his feet, he slaps the mat. And Jey has now taken to Instagram stories to outline that Oba tapped.
Oh, okay. That's what he's doing.
I mean, it did. I mean, if you were paying attention to it, like, he is slapping the mat to like rally himself to get to his feet. So he gets thrown away, eats one more super kick, and then it's uppercuts, launches Jey, and fall from grace. 7 minutes and 55 seconds, where Oba Femi wins and now gets his choice of champion at SummerSlam, unless they do some detour with Brock Lesnar.
Mm-hmm. I thought the match was good. It was simple in construction. It's a match that I think would otherwise be a pretty typical David Goliath type of match, but because the audience is so vocal with their love of Oba Femi, I found it pretty effective in, just whatever dynamic they're trying to, work here. I think, like, to me, Jey represented a good choice to oppose Oba for several reasons. One, he's a former champion, so you can have Oba defeating a former champion. Number 2, he's a direct narrative path to Roman Reigns, who is the suspected, opponent for Oba Femi. And I also think, most importantly, Jey Uso currently represents a threat to the audience because he is somebody who I think the audience perceives as overpushed. So there's always the threat that he will be booked to win. And that is something that this audience, at least online, really does not want to see anymore with Jey Uso. So that, I thought, all made the match more compelling, and I thought it made Oba Femi like a more sort of, I don't know, attractive, like in some ways you could even say underdog, just given the history and the audience's, at least again the online audience's, lack of want of a Jey Uso win. So they did give Jey a little bit more offense than typical for an Oba match, I felt, but it was certainly still enough to make Oba look, I thought, impressively dominant by the end.
Yeah. I mean, the match was okay. It was served the purpose that it got. I think, Jey got a great reaction coming out. Oba got a big reaction. I think they saw it as a, important match with stakes attached to it. And we'll get into more about kind of the follow-up with Oba Femi that they're dangling of who he is going to choose for SummerSlam. Nick Aldis presents the crown to Oba, and then Byron Saxon interviews him, and he said he has gone from ruler to king. And Jey, you couldn't beat fate, and you can't beat me. He is one of one, the mountain you cannot climb, and that you cannot conquer.
Right. So no mention of either Roman nor Brock, saving that for Raw, you would assume. I find it like super awkward that they hand them the crowns and none of them put them on their heads. So that's a clear direction of some sort that like Levesque doesn't want you to wear the crown or something.
Yeah. Maybe
because like they think it looks silly, or he thinks it looks silly. But like, why not just put the crown on a trophy or something if you're going to treat it just like a trophy, Like, imagine handing somebody a hat and just,
how about
like, end up holding it.
What if they gave him a plaque or a jacket or a ring? I guess the king of the ring connotates that we must have a crown.
Yeah, I know. But if you're not going to be able to wear it, like, put it
Are we
going to
see these crowns after tonight? Do they make their way back to the U.S.?
You'll see it on Monday, maybe. You'll see it on Tuesday. You'll see it on maybe a podium, like when the winner wrestles or something.
What
But
if Brock
beyond that,
steals the crown? And this is like Money in the Bank, where if you don't have the crown, you can't get the title shot, and therefore Oba has to face Brock at SummerSlam to get his crown back to get his title match.
well, I think that'd be awful. But I
Wasn't
don't
that the
know.
rule with the briefcase? The briefcase was stolen. You needed to get it back.
Sure, yeah, yeah.
Maybe
I think
there's a
those are
QR
awful,
code
too.
inside this king crown that gets you your title match, gets you access into the U.S. Bank Stadium.
Right. Well, maybe he should wear it then. He won't lose it.
Okay. Danhausen comes out, just what this show needed, Danhausen, and he has come into a substantial amount of human monies, but then is cut off by Liv Morgan, who says he owes the Judgment Day a lot of money, and bad things are going to happen to him. So let's get this straight. He has stolen money from Judgment Day on Raw, and he has stolen money from Los Garza on SmackDown. Is this accurate?
Well, I don't know if you call it stealing. Like, I mean, they gave him money telling him to curse somebody. I don't know if he actually agreed to it or not. He's just like, he's not even a real business. He's not even really for sale like that. They just chose to give him money, and he took it and spent it on his machine. So
Okay.
is that really a crime? Did he really steal?
It sounds like it. Like this,
I mean, it's at least a gray area,
he did not render any services for this money.
But imagine somebody leaves $50 on your doorstep, and I don't know, maybe leaves a note for you to like mow their lawn, and you're gonna be like, "Fuck off! I'm not mowing your lawn." But then you take the $50, you spend it on pizza or something. Is that criminal?
I
don't
would think
so.
there's an implied oral agreement that comes with the acceptance of the money that you are understanding that this is not a gift. This is in
So this is for the court of law to
exactly.
discuss.
This is where this goes. They will have to make a judgment ruling.
Mm.
So Liv comes out, says something will happen to him if the money is not returned to them, and then Danhausen curses Liv as she slaps Danhausen. And more on this to come with Liv Morgan and this character now that she is looks to be cursed.
Yeah. I mean, many people seem to be cursed, but this did certainly maybe telegraph, if it wasn't already telegraphed enough, the outcome of this particular match, and also, seems to spell further interactions between Danhausen and the Judgment Day. Maybe we should also take the time here to mention, like, the audio at the start of the show for Michael Cole was all over the place.
Brutal.
Really, it was all over the place the whole show. But in
I thought Go Fight Live had taken over the distributing of this.
I thought
this
Gabe
show.
Sapolsky was calling the show suddenly.
Okay, we got Liv Morgan coming out. Night 1, Night of Champions. Dude, Michael Cole sounded awful. And then, like, maybe Danhausen cursed Cole, because then in the main event, they did the broken table spot, and then Cole's audio is fixed during the show, and then it goes to shit again in the main event. It was like the worst audio I've ever heard on a WWE broadcast.
For a WWE show, it's quite unusual. And maybe they should have done a few more 1, 2, 3, 4s at the beginning of their broadcast, I think.
You're right. Maybe Gabe could have, how's the stream?
Yeah. That's it.
All right, so we got Liv and Io in the Queen of the Ring final. Michael Cole and Corey Graves remark on the incredible hospitality they have received here in Saudi Arabia, and they put over the American breakfast served at the hotel.
Yeah. I mean, I don't doubt that they are treated really well whenever they're there.
Yes. As long as they're not grounded on their flight going home, it's a smooth trip.
I guess is it representative of every person's stay?
Depends what you're tweeting.
Yeah, I guess so.
Io is high-fiving with these fans who are like grabbing her to like prevent her from doing her spot off the barricade. And Liv takes over, hits the three amigos, and then she goes for the Boston Crab. And they're really trying to give her sort of like the half crab now as this dangerous submission move after her destruction of Charlotte Flair last week. Sky comes back, hits a missile dropkick, bullet train attack, and then after a counter to a backstabber, she goes for a suicide dive, and Sky forearms her, hits the acai moonsault, and tries for over the moonsault, but is shoved off the top, and she comes down on the steps, grabbing her knee. So with the knee weakened, the half crab is applied, and she arches back as Cole even compares it to a lion tamer, and Io frees herself. Sky's knee buckles as she's running the ropes, allowing Liv to spring off the middle rope into a code breaker, as she's just going to lift everything from Chris Jericho. Sky is limping. She comes off the turnbuckle, jams her knee coming down on the mat, and then stops Liv on top and hits Liv with a one-woman Spanish fly and hits the over the moonsault to win in 14 minutes and 55 seconds. Io is your queen, and there is going to be no tease of this one because as she is interviewed by Byron, she says she will see Liv Morgan at SummerSlam in 5 weeks. So it definitely raises the question of what the extent of Rhea Ripley, who has basically vanished now with this injury, and if that was a potential direction. Like, I don't know, Liv and Io running it back in 5 weeks, it doesn't sound like the most enthralling direction after just doing this, but it does make some logical sense. But I do wonder if Io and Rhea, that would have been a big time match to run at SummerSlam.
That's certainly a question. But I think another question is why Liv Morgan was booked to be in this tournament in the first place, other than maybe to set up a challenger this way, for her at SummerSlam. It's unusual to have the champion go in. They had a good enough reason for her to join, wanting to be double champion, but ultimately it just simply resulted in like a title eliminator match, here. So, I mean, logically it makes sense. You beat the champion in a non-title match to challenge her for a title match. But it's kind of giving away the match twice. And that is also maybe risky as well, because this first match had to be really good. I thought the match, to me, was honestly a little bit disappointing. I thought everything up until like the knee injury stuff was kind of forgettable and a little boring. I thought the action was just kind of just there. Once they got into the knee story, it gave your attention something to latch onto. But I like the fact that like Liv, has that new finish, with the Boston half crab out of the Charlotte match. But I was kind of not that impressed with Io's selling. I thought like she kind of oversold the knee injury throughout. Like it was like a very loud type of type of knee selling.
Where did she rate on the Seth Rollins scale? Seth being 10.
I don't think Rollins is that bad, but like, I just have a higher level of expectation.
She didn't do a Phoenix splash.
She did do a moonsault. Now, yes, it was.
But she won with it.
She held her knee afterwards, so that was fine. But I also thought the finish kind of lacked drama. I mean, it was her overcoming the injury with the Spanish fly, then over the moonsault. But I almost feel like that needed a little bit more struggle, before getting there. Anyway,
I didn't come out of this match like excited to see them run it back.
Yeah. So if they do another one, I would think a stipulation maybe attached to it. Because a straight up match, maybe with enough story and enough build, it would get people interested. But I'm not clamoring for another one in ring.
What are the chances that we're gonna get Saturday night's main event or Raw with Liv and Dom against Io and Danhausen?
I think it's very possible. Yeah,
Why
that's
not?
a perfectly fine match to make.
Yeah,
for Saturday night's main event.
And then maybe Danhausen is going to have to come nose to nose with Naraku.
Oh, maybe. There's a
Byron. Byron just does the interview, and we have one match set up for SummerSlam at the moment.
Yeah.
I thought both matches, like, they didn't light the world on fire for me in this first hour. I guess you enjoyed Oba and Jey a bit more than I did.
I thought it was exactly what it needed to be, but it wasn't like an incredible match. No.
So now shift over to the app, everyone. It's Seth Rollins and Bron Breakker in a steel cage match. And Rollins comes out and they just load up the ring with weapons. We have kendo sticks, we got chairs, and of course, tables. And the two start off just sitting. It's like maybe they're just going to talk this one out. We're just going to have a mediator come out and we're going to figure out the source of these problems. But then they go, no, we're just going to come to blows. And our match begins. Breakker just throws him around with Germans. He's showcasing all of his power and taking control of the early part of the match. There's a table set up in the corner by Rollins, and Bron goes for a spear, but is caught with a kick. And Seth just starts whipping chairs at Bron, buries him underneath the stairs, but up comes Bron with a Breakensteiner, sending Seth onto the sea of chairs, only getting a 2 count. And so Bron announces, "You are going to die."
Yeah. Some of the ad-libbing in this particular match I felt was, I didn't think it was that good.
Oh, man. I just watched the first episode of Heels, okay?
Uh-huh.
When it comes to exposition and explaining wrestling, let's just say that this, if you enjoy the overindulgent dialogue you get in some of these matches, I'm looking forward to talking about heels with you. Okay, this is quite the show that we have found. Can't say I was left wanting years ago when this series came out and I missed it the first time around.
Okay, interesting. All right, I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, off that detour, we go back here. Seth grabs the chair. The stomp gets cut off by a spear. There were a lot of good cutoffs here, especially by Bron. Bron climbs to the top of the cage, and Seth climbs with him, so they're seated on top, trading blows, and it ends with a superplex by Seth, putting Bron through a table, and in the process, he is cut around the left eye and got quite a bit of blood for the closing stretch. It's Bron stopping a stomp with a clothesline, and he runs the rope for his torpedo spear, but Seth kicks out of the torpedo spear, and Bron can't believe it. This was his closest Ruby Riott moment, but it was he only registered like a 4 or a 5 on the scale. So Bron goes to climb through the door, but Seth holds on to him, and Seth yells, "Finish the fight! Be a man! Be a man!"
Mm-hmm.
Like Ali with Inoki. Just not racist in terms of his taunts. And he closes the door on Seth's head, and he decides, "I'm a man. I'm a dog, but I'm a man." And Seth sidesteps as Bron spears the table. I would watch this man wrestle a table. I think it would be great entertainment.
Bron Breakker versus the Invisible Man would be an amazing match.
He might kill himself.
Yeah.
The Invisible Man would win by TKO. So he goes through the table with the spear, pedigree, stomp, and Bron kicks out. A really great sequence here, and kick out by Bron. And Bron begs off because Seth is now threatening him with the dreaded stomp. And Seth backs up. Is Seth going to have mercy on the man? No. He climbs to the second turnbuckle and gives him the super stomp. And super stomps the dog and pins him in 19 minutes and 5 seconds. My tone and sarcasm aside, I thought this was a really strong match and blew away the first 2 matches on this show. And I'd probably put this number 2 on the show, but this was, I did enjoy this quite a bit.
I thought they got to a good level by the end. But I have to say, if this was to be the end of a months-long feud, I don't think they hit that gear until maybe the latter portions. I think, when I think about cage match, I just would prefer a bit more chaos and destruction. And, most of the time when we're talking about, especially, WWE cage matches, you don't really, I don't get enough of it. I certainly didn't feel it, much of that until, the big table spots. And whether or not intentional, this match was greatly aided by the introduction of blood. A cage without blood, I think just ends up feeling like you're putting these guys in a playpen, or at best a platform for them to do moves off of.
Playpen.
A cage should be a weapon, right? And if you don't have blood to show its effects, it's a lot harder to make the cage feel dangerous. And thankfully, they had a bit of that here. So,
how dangerous is this weapon when they've got to be aided by more weapons, real weapons?
Yeah, I mean, again, you want the idea of a cage match being final, being dangerous, but you also can't do the amount of blood that I think you traditionally would want for a cage match, and so you're kind of left with essentially a hardcore match, within the confines of some fencing. But they got to a strong level certainly by the end here, and the outcome I found a little bit surprising. Especially since the Vision lost the titles this week to the Profits, I would have expected Bron to get the win here, but Seth getting the win, you would think that he's got something big lined up for SummerSlam.
Oh, I think
right?
For sure. I think that was the whole purpose of this, is he's probably in line for, he's probably getting a title match at SummerSlam. I think that's a very...
So what, Roman?
I think it's possible, yeah. If Oba's not facing...
Okay. So what are you thinking? Oba, Rock? And then somehow the Roman match is not... What is that?
I don't know. I don't know where all this lands, but Seth going over is, to me, it has to set up the big match, and that's the match that Rollins is building towards. He did his interview afterwards, so I mean, you can go with Oba and Roman, but Seth needs a really big match now, and Zayn doesn't feel like it.
Well, who's the big match for Seth other than Roman? Who are his opponents? Who are his targets other
that's
than Roman?
That's it. He's basically in the post show, he said, "I came back to dismantle the Vision. I'm moving on from the Vision, and the only goal I have is getting the title I never lost."
Okay. So that would leave either a three-way involving Oba Femi, which I think would kill the King of the Ring idea if you have a guy go through a tournament just to be able to enter a three-way, or it would be Oba versus Cody instead.
Yeah. Well, no, Oba and Sami now.
Sorry, Sami, you're right. Yeah, Oba Sami.
I guess the other question is, A, can you see them doing SummerSlam in Minneapolis without Brock?
No.
And if not Oba, who are you putting with Brock on that show?
Well, it'd have to be Brock, but why? But how would you? How would you have? Sorry, what?
You're saying it would have to be with Oba, or
Yeah.
so? I mean, something has to give here. I mean, there's only so many options of, like, you can't put Oba in 5 different matches at SummerSlam. You've got
All
to pick.
Oba Femi.
I don't even think we're getting 2 matches with Oba over SummerSlam. Like, you've got to pick one match for this guy. So it's either Roman or it's Brock. I think those are your 2 options for Oba. I don't see Oba and Sami. I don't think that feels very weird. Like, those are the 2 options that I think you have, and you're either doing this Roman match and you hold off on Brock and that's down the road, or you do something to get in the way of Oba getting this title match, with the idea of him chasing being something we want to draw out for longer.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's the case, then I see Rollins with Roman.
Yeah, very possible.
And I think we should have this match pretty much finalized on Monday. Like, wouldn't you want that title match figured out by Monday? They have a lot of tickets to move for SummerSlam, and I would want to have that title match known on Monday. And the following week is that Chicago Raw, and I guess we'll be curious to see if, like, Punk is there to shoot whatever angle he's doing, if his horse is not too sick.
Yeah. Hopefully he's got some good horse medicine.
Trick Williams and Ricky Saints for the United States Championship, with Lil Yachty, who made the trip all the way to Saudi Arabia for a couple of minutes' work. Saints attacks him from behind the bell, and then Saints steals Yachty's kendo stick and does the Eddie Guerrero Phantom Bump, leading to Daryl Sharma / Adrian Butler, I couldn't decipher, ejecting Lil Yachty. It's like, dude, I flew 18 hours here, and you're ejecting me 2 minutes into this match? And he is sent to the back. So Saints comes off the steps, throws Trick into them, and works the lower back. And the crowd was definitely down from the previous match. Trick hits him with these side kicks, does all of his Booker T spots, and then he gets caught in the rope with his sidekick as Ricky hits a twisting DDT and lifts him up onto the shoulders. And Michael Cole, was he looking for Rochambeau?
Maybe he's right and we've all been wrong.
Have we been wrong this whole time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was Cartman wrong on South Park?
Oh, the whole world has been.
Yeah, let's play some Rochambeau. Yeah. There's a tornado DDT. Saints goes all Genichiro Tenaru here with his elbow off the top, but he's countered into another bookend, and then the Revolution DDT is blocked, and Trick hits the trick shot for the win in 10 minutes and 50 seconds. Yachty comes back, and Trick and Yachty double team Saints with a kendo stick, and ends with Lil Yachty hitting the People's Elbow.
I don't know what the fuck the point of that was.
Oh my God, this was
People's
like
Elbow.
I don't know.
Like Yachty, I think has he's kind of made a point of saying, I'm not like the other celebrities. I'm the guy who sticks around post WrestleMania season. So he's just trying to make this sort of like I would say like call for respect, I suppose, But then like this sort of shit feels exactly like the type of thing that you would give a celebrity just to let them fulfill some sort of like teenage fantasy of delivering like a People's Elbow in front of a bunch of people, like a full crowd. I thought it was unnecessary and it was silly. And I have to say, like,
this was one step away from sitting at the commentator's desk for an entire match and not saying anything.
Honestly, but like Yachty's presence with Trick, I mean, yes, they do have like pretty good chemistry on the microphone, but like it seems like more of a holdover from like the heel Trick days, and therefore you kind of have to make these silly excuses with all of these matches to try to get him out of the ring, right? Just so that you have like Trick Williams as an underdog, for a little bit, because he doesn't have help on the outside. So I just don't know how useful, honestly, Yachty is attached to it all. On top of that, I thought like the way that they ejected Yachty from this match with the Eddie spot was not at all conducive to certainly making people boo Ricky Saints. That is a babyface spot. That's an Eddie Guerrero babyface spot. And it kind of got this audience certainly weren't upset that Yachty was ejected out of it. I thought this match died, John, in front of this
Oh,
crowd,
dude,
you know?
I was gonna share my thoughts. I thought this was nothing, just a nothing match. I had no, like, I just felt it was 10 minutes of nothing. I thought this was below a SmackDown level match that these two would have. I just thought Trick didn't look all that dynamic. I didn't think Ricky was showcased all that well. It just felt like a really flat match.
It to me is almost kind of rare on these like 5-6 match cards that WWE produces now to see a match get such little reaction. But man, I thought this match achieved that. Like in this equation, I don't think Trick is the issue. Like he's one of the most, I would say, like beloved, guys currently on the roster. I thought Saints was a really odd choice for this match from the get-go. Number one, I think he's been poorly established on TV. Certainly not to the point where you consider he'd be hot enough to be featured prominently in a match like this. And in this match, for him to overcome that, he had to be really, really impressive and really entertaining and dynamic in ring. And this wasn't that type of performance. He was pretty forgettable in his wrestling here. And I think it's a failure of, well, maybe Saints in his current time in the main roster right now. It's also a failure of WWE to put him out there when he's not really over enough for this sort of how long was this? 15? Like
11.
Okay. Well, it certainly felt every bit of, what longer than that. So I didn't think this was great at all.
The spot for WrestleMania 43. Still no dates that they are advertising for Mania. And Roman Reigns will be on Raw Monday night in Atlantic City, where they're doing the double taping, and therefore Raw will air on Netflix at 6 p.m. Eastern, and then they're taping SmackDown immediately after. I guess the crew gets a 4th of July weekend off. So that's nice.
Right. And Canada Day.
And Canada Day. I'm sure that was the real focus is, hey, we want to have Canada Day off. Tiffany, Stratton, Jade, Cargill for the Women's United States Championship. So they start. And immediately, Stratton messes up this sunset out of the corner. And Tiffany is lifted for the eye of the storm, but lands on her feet. Graves explains in Graves' language that Jade is like a Terminator. She doesn't have the timing or nuance of a lot of superstars. She's just really raw with physical ability.
Which Terminator are we talking about, first of all? Are we talking like 1, 2? Are we talking about like
maybe one of the latter stage Terminators? I don't know. But it was Corey Graves being his wink and a nod type of commentary. So there's a pop up into a drop kick by Tiffany, and she does her handspring elbow into the corner, tries another off the ropes, and nearly into Jaded. There was a lot of sloppiness here at some of this. Then, so Jade lifts her up again. And instead of identifying as the eye of the storm, Cole calls this the sandstorm. Are these two different moves?
I think they're two different moves. I think sandstorm is something she's just debuted. Eye of the storm sounds like something she's done.
Because it looked like the same setup, but she doesn't hit either of these moves. They're just identified differently. So I just want to make sure that like Darude is not being incorrectly linked to any of Jade's offense.
I believe Jade has a new move called sandstorm. I don't, yeah. Because storm, right?
I get it. Yeah. I do get it. Jade gets countered into a jawbreaker.
Oh,
and then
the one-winged angel is what she calls the sandstorm, which she was not going for here.
Yeah, this looked like the same eye of the storm that she was going for earlier. Yeah. So she hits this jawbreaker counter, and then we just get this super messy crucifix driver as Jade just lands on her side, and they just continue going forward. So this is not smooth. And then we got 5,000 run-ins. B-Fab shows up to distract referee Daphne LaShawn, prompting Meechin to knock to knock Tiffany off the top, sets up a chokeslam by Jade, but she kicks out at 2. And who has been underneath the ring, probably since this building was constructed? Chelsea Green. She's under the ring, and there she is to thwart Meechin and B-Fab, and she gets the United States Championship, takes a look at it, and then Jade grabs Chelsea, pulling her in, and with the referee still distracted, Jade goes for the U.S. title when, boom, there's Charlotte Flair. She too is here, and she nails Jade with the title, leading to the PME for the win in 7 minutes and 35 seconds, and I guess this will prompt our Jade Charlotte Flair showdown. Tiffany retains. I will add this just because I do want to get your reaction, but let's turn this into a triangle table of analysis. We had Jade tweeting a video of the finish of this, writing, "Damn, this was beautiful." And then chiming in is an injured Piper Niven, who wrote, 5 out of 10, a bit sloppy. You didn't transfer her weight onto your chest, so you never really had her. And that's why she slipped out and you got that double bump effect and her head reverberated on the mat. But you look great, and who cares who you hurt, so long as you're all right, right?
Whoa, okay. All right.
Maybe that's the SummerSlam match people are going to be demanding, although Piper Niven is just off of neck surgery, so unlikely.
Yeah, very unlikely. I also, I don't know. I feel pretty confident in feeling like all of this is just direction from like the company at this point.
I don't know if they're shooting angles with Piper Niven on X.
I guess not, but is she also going rogue and like, you know, choosing to like shit on Jade while she's out injured? Like, is this really like over a black
if this
hole
is ever
slam?
referenced, if this is ever referenced on TV, we
It
can
will
look back.
not be just like the
It will not be. So there's no purpose to this.
Right.
She's not linked to anybody. It's like
so you think she just legitimately like hates Jade this much to just put this out there?
I mean, this wasn't like a heel promo. This is like, you're a sloppy worker, that this wasn't a good match.
Yeah, I guess like to say that off of like somebody being proud of like what their black hole slam, I like seems so petty to me and unnecessary. Like it doesn't make Piper Niven look great coming off anyway. But it gets people talking, so like I don't know
how many people are going to be talking about this, but
we are.
I guess so. I did not think this was all that great of a match either, following our previous United States Championship match.
Yeah, I felt like, you know, it was a Tiffany Stratton style of match, meaning like it's very sort of high cardio, almost like a routine that she is speed running rather than, I think, a fight. And I almost feel like that sort of style has its plus and minuses. I think the minuses are when things fail, like they often can. It just kind of defeats maybe the immersion of what you're watching that much more. I will say I thought like the faster pace felt like a welcome break maybe from what we've been watching on the show so far. I actually felt Jade did pretty decently here in the supporting role, or at least like, you know, on the other side, you know, showing off some impressive strength here. As a heel giant, I don't think like she needs a wide palette of moves, but I think what she can do, she's been doing pretty decently. So I think she was not really, you know, any issue in this match, in my opinion. I thought the finish was really convoluted, as maybe these things tend to go. So they had Chelsea come out here, and with the way Chelsea was holding the U.S. Championship, I think you're supposed to think that she wants it, right? Like she's holding it like Gollum, you know, like really, you know, feeling the attachment to the title again. And that seems to indicate your long-term program being Chelsea versus Stratton over the U.S. Championship. Charlotte coming back in, not that much of a surprise, but she came in like not selling the knee injury at all. I don't even think she had a brace on.
Where did she come from? She was just there, ringside. She come through the crowd? Did she come from? Was she underneath the ring? Did underneath the ring just have like an airport terminal from Florida?
It's a grand hotel underneath it, yeah. But I took more issue with the fact that like they made such a big deal out of the knee injury. They told that knee injury stories, I thought, like really well throughout the, you know, last week, and it led to like something that at least felt like, you know, deserved like a week off or 2 weeks off for Charlotte, and yet she just kind of shows up here completely normal, and not really selling the effects of it at all. So I thought that took this like some of the severity maybe out of the angle a little bit.
There was just so much they were trying to cram into this. It's like, okay, Michin and BFAB, that makes sense that you would have them try to interfere on Jade's behalf. You want to do the story that here is Chelsea coming to Stratton's aid. Stratton starting to now trust her. Then we're doing this tease with Chelsea eyeing the belt. Then we've got Charlotte showing up to set up her match with Jade. Even though you would think
then we got Piper Niven online.
Yeah, where's Liv Morgan and all that? Wouldn't Flair want some comeuppance on Liv after the knee injury? But anyway, there was just so much here at the end that I just found it to be overwhelming, and yeah.
So we got Charlotte and Jade, SummerSlam, likely.
Presumably.
And something involving Tiffany Stratton, well, against whoever, but long-term, something with Chelsea and Stratton, you would think.
So then it is time to move to the main event of Cody Rhodes, Gunther, and Sami Zayn for the undisputed WWE Championship. 100% babyface reaction for Sami Zayn coming out, and crowd is buzzing here.
Like wearing the keffiyeh and thobe. So, I mean, if it wasn't already obvious enough, he is portrayed as the hometown guy. Everybody here is a ride or die fan.
Yes. And he was playing to the camera saying, "Isn't that nice for a change?" And so when the bell rings, like, this crowd is buzzing pretty significantly for the match. Mm-hmm. And it starts with Gunther and Cody as Zayn gets dumped to the floor. But he would return, take some chops, and then it's all Gunther until a Cody cutter is hit. Then Cody hits a double Cody cutter to both men. And Gunther stops a crossroads, hitting a power bomb, and back comes Zayn for a save. And so they did a lot of these kind of layered saves where, one guy was out, he'd make the save, we'd get referees yanked out and such. But I did think it was a well laid out three-way that they had. Cody's doing the bionic elbow and is cut off with the Blue Thunder Bomb as Zayn gets a near fall legs between the posts, crotching him. And Cody hits the crossroads to Gunther when Zayn yanks out referee Dan Engler, and Cody is pissed at Zayn. But they emphasize, it's legal. It's legal. And Cody challenges Zayn to enter, so they start going at it. Zayn hits a brainbuster, and now it's Gunther coming off the top of the splash, breaking up the cover, and he powerbombs Zayn, powerbombs Cody on top of Zayn, and then goes for another powerbomb that Zayn turns into a sunset flip for a 2 count. Gunther actually does his own haluva kick, missing Zayn, and now Zayn hits the haluva kick, and you think that Zayn has it won. Now it's Cody's turn to yank Dan Engler to the floor with the tables turned. So they go to the floor. Cody and Zayn are brawling, and they clear the desks, and just for good measure, Sami Zayn takes one water bottle, places it on the desk so he can slap it away, which they didn't call attention to, but I thought was rather amusing that they incorporated that. And he goes for the package pile driver onto Cody. And this is interesting, just that, Kevin Owens he's coming back on this NXT show tomorrow, which I don't think you read anything into, but his name was brought up on Friday. You've got this spot here. It does feel like they're certainly putting a lot of, they're certainly incorporating Kevin Owens, at least recognizing him in, on back-to-back nights here with Sami. Mm-hmm. So he goes for the package pile driver, but Cody stops it because, remember, this is the move that breaks the code among the boys. You don't do the package pile driver, okay? That's the one that could take you out and you can't make money for your family. So Cody, preserving the code, back body drops Zayn onto the American desk, and he goes through that one. And this is where Michael Cole's audio goes to shit, and it's gone. Gunther comes and powerbombs Cody onto this desk. The desk doesn't break, so he does another powerbomb, breaking the desk. Cody's dead, and he throws him into the ring, applies the sleeper, and Cody battles to his feet. He slams down Gunther, but the sleeper is reapplied, and as his arm is lifted, in comes Zayn, preventing the arm from hitting the mat. And it's Zayn hitting an exploder and haluva on Gunther. Gunther kicks out. Really big near fall. Super cutter is hit by Cody, and then it's Zayn reversing a crossroads. He goes for a haluva. Gunther cuts him off with the sleeper, and it's reversed. And Cody manages to get both of these guys for a double crossroads, which looks as ridiculous as it sounds, and goes for one more crossroads to Sami, but Sami rolls him up with a counter, catching Cody in 18 minutes and 40 seconds as Sami Zayn wins the Undisputed Championship in his 10th attempt at the title. And this was the big moment of the show. Sami Zayn finally winning the title, and they do the big celebration, all of the fireworks going off, and he yells into the camera, 10 years in WWE, which he's being generous. It's been like 13 years he's been here. And he says, they said I'd never do it. Well, here it is. And Sami Zayn.
Are we just talking main roster for 10 years?
When was he on the main roster? He came up that one time and blew out his shoulder. But yeah, I guess maybe that's closer. NXT doesn't count. But he wins the championship. And there you go. Mm-hmm. Surprise finish, or did you see it going this way?
I honestly felt like all three had, an argument to win. And maybe if I had to maybe pick an option, I might have considered Sammy perhaps the least likely of the three, but just maybe by a slight margin. So like there was certainly an element of a bit of surprise for me, the fact that they finally confirmed this. Although like once you see the entrance, once you really kind of like see everything, of course, it made a lot of sense. Like other than that night we still talk about, John, of us being in Montreal for Elimination Chamber. I don't know if you're going to get that sort of fever for Sami Zayn winning a championship again. And I thought they came decently close in tonight, in this moment of this crowd really wanting to favor this one guy to finally like win this championship. So this time they seemed to take advantage, and I thought the match was awesome. Like I thought like in terms of a three-way, I felt it's been really well established because they all have heat between them. Sami and Gunther have their history. Gunther and Cody certainly have currently a very intense rivalry. Sami and Cody may be the most intense of them all. So all of it felt very balanced. And on top of it, you had, I think, tremendous motivation from Sami that he's been building up for years now of finally being able to achieve this championship win. So the quality of the match I felt was also quite excellent. Like Cody and Gunther are Cody and Sami are excellent, but Gunther to me is the glue that holds it all together. He's the guy who can like, make every move look intense and real. I thought the story elements of Sami and Cody costing each other, like all the storyline build, all the promos that they cut, I thought like played well into the body of the match and made you feel that much more about, well, each near fall and how, especially for Sami, how he got that much closer until Cody perhaps pulled the referee out of the way. The run up to the finish was excellent with just so much like great back and forth. So I thought the match was very strong. Yeah.
I thought it was the best match on the show, and I really think that they were looking at, I think they wanted to shake things up and do something that was going to kind of be not completely out of left field. I think people saw like there was the possibility they could do this type of a finish with Sami winning, but I think like this, there had been the discussion of like Cody and Punk being the title program for SummerSlam. You could still get there with Cody and Punk without the title, or you put, you could certainly, what I think they're doing is I think they are, they just want to shake things up. And, typically when it's a figure like a Sami Zayn, he's winning the first title, like there will be an added bit of excitement and momentum behind something like that, as you can see to the reaction online after Sami Zayn won it. Like if there's something people do take seriously, it's like the guy winning his first big championship. And I hope it's a semi-serious run. I don't want it to be Sami as kind of the, the cowardly comedic heel that this is just like a quick 1-2 month title reign. I think you could do, he has the matches laid out that you can certainly go with here. We'll see what type of a reign that this is, if he is, given a real shot at being a top figure on SmackDown, or if this is sort of just do something for the shock of it, and we're going to get it back onto one of the other players by the end of the summer, for instance.
I think there could be a very strong chance of that. I think by the end, like even before SummerSlam, like this could be the type of short reign that he might lose on first instance. Like it's
possible. They do it like he finally gets it, and it's like the Drew story. He gets the title, and boom, he loses it.
You had Gunther on the post show, at least, complaining to all this, also like kind of instigating all this enough to the point where like there was some physicality. So maybe that suspends Gunther. I wouldn't necessarily think it rewards him or anything like that. But I don't know, like Sami, okay, like this is a show that's sort of very separate from, what you typically get in North America, right? Here, Sami is the hometown hero. He wrestled this match pretty much straight, like no underhanded tactics whatsoever. In America, he is portrayed as very capable, very credible, but also somebody who is not like the type of like world beater that like, certainly a Gunther is, nor even like, I don't know, Cody is. And he's also the type of character where losing almost like gives him extra motivation to be more of the character that, he is, the bitter guy who is just always there to complain, right? So I wouldn't completely write off the idea that he could lose his title before SummerSlam, and then SummerSlam gives you something else. But let's say he holds the championship. What is the Sami Zayn match at SummerSlam?
So I think I think the X factor is CM Punk. If he's coming back and on SmackDown, like Punk's going to be in a major program. The natural is that, okay, so Sami beat Cody here. You could do Sami and Gunther, although I still think there's some juice in
That's
Cody
double
and
heel.
Sami. Yeah,
I mean, they could do it, of course, but you know,
Yeah.
it's just it's of all the options, it doesn't maybe feel
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
right.
I feel Cody being involved there, it would seem that Cody's involved somehow, but I don't know where Punk fits into all of that, because I was thinking it was going to be like Cody Punk would be SummerSlam, and
Sami and Punk is another option. You know, like you'd have to justify Punk getting the title.
you could
shot,
get
which you
there.
could
You're
do.
just you're starting from, you're starting from scratch with those two, but certainly you could do that in theory.
Yeah, last real good guy versus maybe, I don't know, somebody who the audiences actually think is a good guy in CM Punk. That's viable. But, Cody versus Punk, I also think is like,
Or Oba could beat him in 30 seconds.
yeah. Yeah, Oba and Sami is also
It's a lot of
very
people are
possible.
going to treat this like Bryan Danielson winning the title at the WrestleMania in New Orleans. And I feel this is going to be closer to when Danielson won the Money in the Bank and cashed it in. And he was kind of just like the underdog champion that was just going to be like a very different handling of that championship reign as
Sure.
a heel.
Which would also maybe make sense in that maybe they didn't want Oba to either beat Gunther or Cody. And therefore, Sami sort of is more of a transitional role, but gets this wonderful moment at Night of Champions.
So Byron, just going through some of the post-show stuff, Byron did interview Zayn while he was in the arena, and he spoke in Arabic. There was chance of you deserve it, and he agreed. He says, I never got the recognition, and I don't care what happens to me next. I'll always be recognized as WWE champion. So it
So
almost
is that
felt like he's like,
foreshadowing?
I could lose this belt tomorrow, and maybe I will, but I'm going to be a champion.
I wonder if that's foreshadowing something. That would almost like open the path directly for like an Oba Femi to call him out like the next night and take the title off of him right away.
Right.
That could happen. Yeah, like Oba Femi would say, "Fuck SummerSlam. I want my title shot tonight."
And then you get Oba and Brock. There you go.
Yeah, you could. Yeah.
Also on the post show, Byron asks Liv if she thinks she lost due to the curse, and she's just playing paranoid, saying, I'm not cursed. I'm not cursed. I'm not cursed. This sounds awful. So let's see where it goes. They interviewed Rollins on the post show. He said it was interesting. He was obviously like talking like mainly in character, but was saying how like coming back from this injury, it's been a tough comeback, and I've been trying to get back to 100% feeling it in the ring, which you can certainly see from his performance. Like it has been more of a struggle for him. He says his body is beat up. I've just turned 40 and I still have to prove I can hang with these younger guys. He says the vision's in his rear view, and now he is focused on regaining the title he never lost, which is now held by Roman Reigns. But there's this wedge named Oba Femi that does get to choose his title match. So we have to see what he chooses. And as Way mentioned, they did do the angle where Gunther complained to Nick Aldis about getting screwed again, just like at Backlash, and got physical here. And whether this is a Gunther suspension or if they're finally going to do like a Nick Aldis match, like that is the other possibility.
I just don't see that. I feel like we've been through this with Adam Pearce. You've just never so you did have Gunther like allude to Nick's prior.
He called him a
wrestling
failed
career.
wrestler. That's what he did. That was kind of the line I took as
Sure, but it would just seem so out of nowhere for the GM to be competitive even with the guy who retired John Cena.
I mean, Pat McAfee was competitive with this guy.
And I thought that was fucked up. That shouldn't have happened. Nick Aldis at least does not offer the mainstream cachet to give him that sort of power, right?
You have to remember, okay? Like, you got this 25% off thing. Like, mainly that is focused on SummerSlam. Like, they have a lot of tickets to move, and I think it's the same.
Nick Aldis versus Gunther drawing people into
Okay,
to buy
wait,
tickets?
look at what we endured WrestleMania. They had a whole card booked for WrestleMania, and they blew up all these ideas because they were so worried about these tickets. And I think that's all coming around again for SummerSlam. All of a sudden, this show is in 5 weeks, and we're going to throw the belt onto Sami, and I think all these ideas are now in play. So the idea of doing this, that they'll feel, hey, it's Nick Aldis, we can build this up for 5 weeks and make it a bigger deal than putting Gunther in. Like, what else is Gunther doing if he's not involved in the title picture?
What's Jelly Roll doing? What's
they might be getting the call next week.
What's maybe Yachty versus Gunther? Like, that's the type of move I could see them doing, not necessarily Nick Aldis versus Gunther, which to me is more of a TV thing, you know.
Also worth noting is that Pat LaPrade, who has been covering the careers of Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn right from the jump, he was calling the French language broadcast on Netflix. And yeah, he tweeted about the fact that, he was at Sami Zayn's second ever match back when he was Steve McFly prior to Big Larry. And he just said, like, this was obviously a huge moment for him getting to call Sami Zayn's title win, which I don't know if Pat knew what the outcome was going to be or not. I would kind of guess he wouldn't, and I'm sure it was like quite the call that he had here. He was calling the show with Kevin Raphael as well. And then we also had Kevin Owens tweeting, "I've missed a lot of things I wish I hadn't in the last 15 months because of this injury, but today is by far the one I wish I had been there for the most. He," referring to Sami, "has brought out the best in me as both an ally and a foe. That's because he is the best. When you're consistently that good for that long, you become undeniable. Sami becoming WWE champion was inevitable. He has deserved that moment for a long time, and I'm so happy to see him finally get it." Which is nice that they put their their fight to the death at the Skydome from last year behind them. From the last time we saw. Yeah, that was Kevin Owens' last match was that Rogers Center show.
They were both baby faces, though, for that one.
No, Kevin was a heel at that point.
Oh.
Remember he had turned on Cody?
Well, listen, the injury seems to fix
whenever you break your neck, you revert back to a babyface. That's what happens. When the anesthesia wears off, you're a babyface.
I mean, they're so cool now that, in storyline, they are cool. You had Sami say, don't bring up that name, and they're supposed to be yes, I believe there are real emotions in this tweet, but I also think it's in service of whatever story they're trying to tell.
This title change, it was a great final push for the barbecue on Sunday. Kevin Owens' first return.
Yeah,
since neck surgery. So there you go. That was Night of Champions. I would say that I enjoyed 2 matches on this show: the steel cage and the main event. Those would be the matches I would recommend from this show. You did have you certainly had substance to this show with the king and queen of the ring outcomes, the title change in the main event, and I think generally there is curiosity about the different directions for SummerSlam that I would think over this next week you would want to, that Atlantic City taping on Monday, I would think you at least want to get the ball rolling on some of your top matches. And by that Raw in Chicago next week, hopefully you have a sense of where the key stuff is going.
Yeah, I'll certainly say the result of this show perhaps has made SummerSlam's directions a lot more unpredictable. To me, namely Seth Rollins winning, seemingly setting him up for something big, and whether or not that would be Roman Reigns throws a wrench into Oba Femi's directions. Sami Zayn winning certainly changes the idea of whether it be Cody versus Punk or Gunther versus Cody or whatever, right? So I think it leaves a lot of unpredictability for those particular matches for the title picture. But in terms of content, in terms of just quality of in-ring, I thought the main event was very strong. Everything else was just not that great. But to me, Oba and Jey was what it needed to be, and I didn't expect any more of it. The others, I have to say, were quite disappointing as matches. So, except with the exception of Bron and Seth, that was good.
Yeah. One other thing is wherever all of this lands is that coming out of this, everyone has seen Oba Femi win this King of the Ring, where it is, hey, you get a title shot at SummerSlam. You're really dangling this Roman Reigns match, and it's not to say you can't make people wait for it, but I think there will be a disappointment if that's not the match at SummerSlam, and you have the idea of holding this off to a bigger show because. Yep. You've kind of dangled that. I think we'd agree. That's the biggest match WWE has among their active roster to put together. And the question becomes like, what is the best place to put that on? I think if you are going to shift Oba to a Brock or away from that Roman match, you better have a hell of a explanation to do that. I just think there's going to be some natural, it's going to take some of the air out of those that are looking at this match and potentially getting it at SummerSlam.
Yeah. I am more so thinking now about just Oba calling his shot on Raw and beating Sami Zayn for the championship, and that would, I mean, kind of kill the sort of like expectation of an Oba versus Roman match, right? And I certainly think like the audience wouldn't be upset about it because they get to see Sami Zayn, well, Oba Femi as a champion, and then you just kind of open the path to Brock being his sole focus,
And does Brock come back with Heyman? Because Heyman's been off since that barricade spot. He's been off from the Vision.
I would imagine.
I still feel we get to Oba and Brock in some form or fashion at SummerSlam. It just seems to be the logical destination to finish off that trilogy.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do. We have a pair of pieces of feedback.
Let's go first to Jake from the Windy City, who actually is our next special patron who has chosen heels. That is a review that's coming up very shortly. In fact, maybe why don't we take a little bit of time to talk about what's coming up in July in the Post Wrestling Cafe, John? Because it's a busy month. In fact, maybe like I feel this is the most we are offering.
This is like last week's Dynamite. How are we going to get all these shows in under 30 days? But yes, we have
so big. I had to do like 5 things per line. I don't know if you noticed, John. Like these graphics keep shrinking and shrinking and shrinking with the size of these JPEGs or thumbnails because I have to fit more in.
I have some of the first ones that you sent where it was like 5 things. Yeah, it is expanded. So this month, the big thing is we're kicking off our G1 Climax coverage once again, where we are going to be doing shows covering each and every match in the tournament. We're going to be doing podcasts throughout the tournament from July 11th through August 16th with our team, including myself and Way, Bruce Lord, Karen Peterson, Eric Marcotte, Kate from Montreal. We're going to have WH Park on as well. So coverage of every G1 show that comes with your Post Wrestling Cafe access. But that is not all. We are also going to be doing, is this right, 3 Rewind Aways this month?
Yes, we are. Yeah, it's one of those months where like the Thursdays just happen to fall 3 times. So we are doing our Heels review, as John discussed. We'll be discussing 2 episodes from season 1 of. Are they the ones featuring Punk? Is Punk on any?
I think one of the episodes features Punk. I've only seen the first episode. He's not in that one.
Yeah, so we'll be talking about just maybe heels as a concept with a specific look at 2 particular episodes. We'll be going back to a WrestleMania review with WrestleMania 21. We'll be going to Hollywood, John.
Yeah, with Aki Bono.
That's right. Yes, certainly the main event of that particular show. And then this is actually one that I'm going to be very interested in because I will be doing an Akira Hokuto retrospective with Bruce Lord, who is the executive producer of that one. John will be away on vacation, much deserved, but it offers a chance for me and Bruce to be able to talk about, maybe one of the counterparts to Manami Toyota in what I really enjoyed, like in a review I really enjoyed last month as well.
And we know everyone enjoys our double shots. Well, there's a lot of documentary content coming down the pike. So Way and I are going to be doing reviews of the episodes of Dark Side of the Ring, which comes back July 7th. They're doing the first 3 episodes focusing on Jeff Jarrett and his time in TNA. So we are going to be doing weekly reviews of that. And then coming back at the end of July will be the start of WWE Unreal Season 3. So we will be dedicating some double shot time to looking at the episodes of Unreal. We'll also be doing a show the day after UFC 329 featuring Conor McGregor's return, taking on Max Holloway. And MCU later, we'll be tackling X-Men 97 Season 2 beginning this Friday with WH Park and Rich Fan taking you through the follow-up to what was a very popular first season of X-Men 97.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to all of that. So $8 a month, postwrestlingcafe.com. Your membership also gets you access to the entire archive of everything we have ever promoted and released, including XL editions of Rewind to Raw, Dynamite, SmackDown, an ad-free edition of this particular podcast if you choose to subscribe. So That's our plug for that. And let's go to Jake from the Windy City, who did send a membership chat, who says, if Cody has a program with Punk in the near future, does it necessarily need the title, do you think? Maybe they can do a great match on its own.
I don't think it does. I think it would have been stronger with it, but you can certainly do it without. I think the question is where you pivot Sami Zayn if it's not with Punk or Cody. Like you could do Gunther. You could do a whole different opponent that we're not thinking of as well. But to answer his question, yes, you can do that one without the title. I think people view that as a big match, and the title is not make or break for that one.
Agreed. Mm-hmm.
All right, Jeremy in Texas writes in, this company has always been about its moments, and it gave the Saudi crowd a big moment tonight. I do not care for some of Sami Zayn's political views, but he's been a great performer for a long time. At a time where younger guys are starting to be pushed towards the main event, it seems it was now or never for a Sami title reign. Is the moment worth it when the reign is likely short? Do you think the Saudi money was a factor in this decision? No, I don't think that had anything to do with any of it. If it would, they would have done this a long time ago. IYO winning was expected. I did not think she would immediately choose to face Liv again at SummerSlam. Maybe they don't want to start teasing a match with Rhea yet. WWE really did go to Riyadh with a light crew. No audio guy to help Michael Cole's over-modulated mic, and no Brock Lesnar to spoil Oba winning. I hope we can get a proper build for Oba Roman, and whatever is done with Lesnar doesn't take away from it. Well, I think we've covered many of those topics already.
And I imagine they did have, did they have their normal audio guys? I don't know. Did they have their normal audio equipment? We don't know. But it was an unusual night of you could say bad audio for WWE. So like when he says, do you think the Saudi money was a factor in this decision? Is he asking like whether or not what the Saudis specifically asked for Sami Zayn to be champion? Or because I don't think that would be the case. Now, like I think WWE and Levesque simply want to create a fan-friendly moment for a show in Saudi Arabia, so they're being paid to be here and they want to deliver, I think, the most fan-friendly, appealing show that they can. And so they are crafting a moment in service of that. If maybe that sort of roundabout way, maybe answers that question, I suppose the answer would be kind of
like, I mean, the location was obviously by design to do it here, but was this like an edict? I have a hard time imagining like that is the extent of it, that they're picking, champions and such like that.
It's also in service of like the stories they're telling beyond Saudi, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to Kevin, who says, I'm surprised at how much I enjoyed the show. I thought Oba and IYO winning their respective tournaments made the most sense heading into SummerSlam. Rest of the undercard was solid, and I'm super happy for Sami winning the title. Only see it as a short reign, but can never take it away from him. Yeah.
Well, Wei thinks he'll be talking about a new champion by Monday night.
I think it's very possible when we're lining.
Or would it be Friday night? Would it be Friday night? I guess if this is Oba, yeah. I mean, huge moment on Friday when LA Knight showed up on SmackDown. What did you think? Raw's own LA Knight showing up on SmackDown?
They had the gall to question, what are you doing on SmackDown?
What are you doing here?
Yeah.
It's like Solo just ventures over to Raw every week. Yeah. What are you doing here? I love the response. Jackie, what are you doing here? You're supposed to be on Raw.
Yeah, Jackie's on Raw.
You could not quiz me and I would think that these two are on Raw. I would have no idea. No idea. Much less that the interviewer is on Raw.
Nick Aldis himself couldn't tell you. I don't think.
Well, maybe. Okay, everyone. Well, there you go. That is Night of Champions. That's not all. We have a doubleheader tonight. Collision Course is coming your way momentarily.
Oh yeah, we got you out of here in time. Look at that.
Listen, we're pros, okay? We're just we're the lead-in for Collision Course. But Wei and I will be back tomorrow, a few hours after this, because we will be live after Forbidden Door. So 12:30 in that vicinity. For sane people, you'll probably catch it Monday morning. But that is when we are back to talk about Forbidden Door. We will have coverage on the site tomorrow of Slammiversary, Great American Bash, and Forbidden Door. So it all will be covered on the site, and Wei and I will be covering Forbidden Door. And if I catch any of Slammiversary, maybe a couple of thoughts on that. But the main focus will be Forbidden Door. So there you go.
It'll be very late.
It's going to be very late, everyone.
Deep into Monday morning, I feel, by the time the show's done.
That's right. Okay, everyone. Have a good Saturday night, and we'll speak with you on Sunday night.